Hello, my name is Steed, and today I'm launching a new series on the channel where I rescore some music from some of my favorite video games. We're going to kick things off with some nice relaxing fall music that you can farm to on Stardew Valley. If you're just here for the music, there's going to be chapters in the description, feel free to skip ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to take you step by step through my scoring process and show you how I went from an idea to the end result. I love sound design and music in video games, and so when some of my other side projects are slowing down, this is my go-to exercise to get out of a creative rut and just share something. I hope you'll take away something useful out of this exercise or like something about my process that inspires your own work. If you do, consider subscribing, and let's get into it. The idea for this track all started with this little riff I programmed on the Mother 32. It's fun, plucky, bouncy, doesn't take itself too seriously, which is exactly the vibe I'm going for with this track. I also like how it's kind of a mix between melodic and percussive elements. Next up, I wanted to add some chords on the Matriarch, and this is really where the spirit of the track started to take off and kind of take shape. Fall music in general in Stardew Valley has both a relaxing and melancholy sound to it, which actually makes sense. Fall is the season where things are starting to die off, only to be reborn again. With this inspiration in mind, I just started messing around until I found some moody chord shapes I liked for both section 1 and section 2. Here's section 1. And here's section 2. I specifically liked how this section starts with tension and then release between the two chords. A little side note here, once this was done, I had a pretty good laugh at myself when I realized this was all in C major. I briefly considered transposing to a new key center, but realized that was really silly because I genuinely liked the sound I had come up with and had only considered transposing when I realized it was in C major. So it stayed in C major. The next logical step was to add a bass line for both sections. I recorded myself playing live MIDI into my DAW. Upon playback, my timing was pretty trash and all over the place. So I did some manual quantizing to kind of clean it up, but without sounding too robotic. For the sounds, I really like the digital Yamaha stuff. So I found a cool sound on the Seqtrak, which I know just enough about to play sounds with MIDI. And I played a sound that I like with the recorded MIDI for my DAW. Sticking with the Seqtrak for one more layer, I have this very subtle melody repeating the same 3 notes in the background. It's very faint, it's very quiet, it's kind of more of a texture thing. Sound comes from the Seqtrak, MIDI's coming from my DAW. For the next layer, I wanted a retro-sounding piano to layer with those chords from the Matriarch. I recorded some MIDI into the DAW, and I fired up the Roland Sound Canvas plugin. This is kind of a secret weapon for me when I'm composing retro game soundtracks. I'm using the rocking piano sound, and for added effect, I'm running the sound through the Goodhertz Lossy plugin, which just adds its own retro flavor when you play around and find a setting you like. So at this point, the track is really starting to take shape, but I still needed a way to fade in and out the loop points of this song. I should have mentioned this earlier, but it kind of follows an A-B structure. So there's a first section and a second section, and it just kind of loops. To accomplish this, I just took one of the chords I liked from the Matriarch recording and reversed it. So before we get into effects, the last track I added was coming from the DFAM. I thought it would be really fun to add some extremely subtle dynamic noise rhythms from the DFAM. I'm going to play this for you. It doesn't sound like much on its own, but I really think it adds a lot of dynamic texture to the piece as a whole. With the basic idea of the song out of the way, we're moving on to the effects. I wanted to take some of my melodic content and run it through the Hologram Microcosm for subtle texture. I took the piano and the second repeating melody, and I think the result turned out pretty nice. A little side note on the Microcosm, I also tried running the Mother 32 drums through like a glitch setting for some cool weird glitch sounds, which sounds kind of cool on its own, but I didn't really like how it sounded when I played it back with the rest of the piece. So I'll show you how that turned out, but it did not make the cut. Finally, for effects, I took my Matriarch recordings and I just ran them through the Deep Blue preset on the Meris Mercury X for some lovely reverb. Nothing special here, it just sounds great. After all of that, I just did some quick mixing to get the individual volume levels feeling right. I did some very light EQ, nothing complicated at all. This was mainly just cutting some bass frequencies from sounds that didn't need it to make sure the bass track and the Mother 32 drum track had some room to shine, because those two sounds have a lot of bass content. And that's pretty much it. Before I play the completed track for you, I just wanted to mention that I'm aware of the amount of physical hardware I used for this song, and just wanted to mention you obviously don't need any of this to make music. You can do it all in a DAW. This is not a hardware versus software thing. These are just toys that inspire me in my own creative process, but you don't need any of it. Thank you so much for watching the video. We'll see you in the next one, and enjoy the song.